Good evening, everyone. I'm Laura Ingraham. This is the Ingraham Angle from Washington tonight. Mock it, shock it, Crockett. That's the focus of tonight's angle. All right. If you ever wondered if there were too many lawyers in America, well, any doubt should be put to rest, because meet University of Houston Law Center graduate Jasmine Crockett.
They continue to say things like the illegals and that they broke the law coming in. But what they're not telling the American people is that it is a civil violation. It is not a criminal violation to enter the country illegally. It's not a criminal. It's a crime. It's not a crime.
Perhaps the good congresswoman skipped too many criminal law classes, or just doesn't check basic facts before she speaks, because of course crossing the border illegally is a crime. The statute is found at 8 U.S.C. 1325, and it's titled Improper Entry by Alien. Yeah, and it's called Alien. It states that any alien who enters or attempts to enter the U.S. at any time or place, other than as designated by immigration officers, or obtains entry by willfully false or misleading representation, shall be fined and or imprisoned for up to 6 months for the first offense, up to 2 years for the second. This is pretty basic stuff. Texas is a border state, so you should know this. So how does she get this wrong? It's elementary. It's a second-year law student, what they would know. What a first-year associate at a law firm could get fired for not knowing. But always wrong and never in doubt, Jasmine Crockett has eclipsed former bartender turned Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez as the buzziest Democrat around. Democrats were looking for a new thought leader, and Crockett fits the bill. Plus, she puts the A in attitude. Or is that arrogant?
When you look and you compare me to Marjorie Taylor Greene or me to Lauren Boebert, there is no comparison. And that is the life that we have always lived. So the only people that are crying are the mediocre white boys that have been beaten out by people that historically have had to work so much harder.
Oh, Crockett slams mediocre white boys. That's not racist. Texas's 30th district elected her to office in 2022, and every appearance seems to be made for TikTok. She's the master of the rant.
Let me tell you, we have a thug in charge of the United States. And if we don't wake up, we may not have a United States, because right now he has only been successful in being a divider in chief.
I'm still trying to get over the comment about mediocre white boys. Well, she seems to know absolutely nothing about the economy or the border, but she does know a lot about how to talk smack about people.
If you could speak directly to Elon Musk, what would you say?
Off. Oh. You know it's bad when she's getting the Bill Maher treatment.
The Democrats seem so lost. And here's Jasmine Crockett, who is, I thought, a big leader in the Democratic Party. Her quote is, "This is a terrible nightmare. Somebody slap me and wake me the up because I'm ready to get on with it." On with what would be my first question. And also, this is the way this is like how a podcaster talks or something. Can you imagine, I don't know, Obama saying, "Oh, man, dude, this whacked, slap me, I'm over it." No, I mean, come on, man.
Politico has noticed it as well, lamenting the rise of the potty-mouthed Democrats. Well, for now, Congresswoman Crockett is unrepentant, they write. She said her answer was real and reflected her frustration with Trump and Musk's actions. Like, I have a potty mouth, especially when I'm mad, she said. We're working on it. We're going to pray about it, she said. Well, of course, Democrats' impulse toward the radicals is to circle the wagons and blame Trump. Yeah, because of course they're going to blame Trump. Trump is the only thing they can ever blame. He's at fault. They say the F word, it's his problem. It's also weak. He's president, and all they can do is throw stones and drop the F-bomb. They're seriously unserious people. Bomb throwers like Crockett are passionate about attacking Trump because it's a lot easier than actually trying to address serious problems in their own districts. Now, for Crockett, in her cause, she represents most of Dallas. Now, there is a lot of money in Dallas, but outside of Highland Park, the region, in parts, is struggling. About 17% live below the poverty line. That's well above the national average of 12.5%. And for education, the stats in Crockett's district are grim. only 33% of her district's fourth graders are at or above math proficiency. Only 15% of eighth graders are, and for reading, just 20% of fourth graders and a dismal 18% of eighth graders are proficient. Wow. But you're not going to see her address that with passion on MSNBC. And you won't see her applaud the efforts by ICE to remove criminal threats that are plaguing her state. Now, these are mostly serious offenders who pose a risk to the community. And in Houston today, we saw like hundreds and hundreds rounded up. That was the great work of ICE. But Jasmine Crockett claims to care so much about the people. We await her TikTok video thanking Tom Homan for all his work. Well, that's funny because last year she slammed Texas Governor Greg Abbott for doing the border work that Biden would not do.
If our governor felt like he really wanted to come up with some federal enforcements, he should have ran for president of the United States.
Amazing accomplishment. 2 grammatical mistakes in 1 sentence. Now, there are a few sane Democrats who see where this ultimately leads for the party.
Look, man, we're screwed. I mean, we don't know. No, Democrats don't know what to do. This is a nightmare. You have a party that got trapped 2 ways. One, defending a broken status quo that nobody likes because they thought that Donald Trump was going to make it worse. But when you're defending the status quo, you're going to lose.
But how can Democrats shush their Crockett of shame and other embarrassments like her? Now, Crockett defended Al Green after he was censured for disrupting the Trump speech by shaking his cane and invoking the injustice of segregation, is what she did. Of course, Green himself also played the race card after he was censured. But look, they created this DEI monster, and now we'll sit back as they're forced to try to win with it. Voters for themselves are going to have to decide whether F-bombs and stunts are good replacements for real solutions and a compelling vision. And that's the angle.
Stop pinching yourselves, Democrats. This nightmare's real.
Look, man, we're screwed. I mean, we don't know. No, Democrats don't know what to do. This is a nightmare. Listen, the Democratic Party is going through a massive set of internal crises. You have a party that got trapped 2 ways. One, defending a broken status quo that nobody likes, and then offending most people in the country, calling everybody sexist and racist and transphobic and every other name, and then saying, please follow us. That's not a good strategy, folks.
Democrats are all texting each other saying, we have no power, and Trump is defining everything. And they don't even know who's calling the plays.
It's like trying out a new offense because you know the other team's defense sucks.
That's right. That's a good-ass point.
I can fumble. I know they can't recover the guy.
A great-ass point.
I can try this person at this position. I can try this person at this position. We can just run through with them because they don't have no
They don't even have
stop us.
one person to be president.
Not one. I saw Bill Maher say that the next Democratic ticket, I don't know if he was being funny, but he had a real whole breakdown about it during New Rules.
What is that?
John Fetterman and Pete Buttigieg. That ain't gonna do it, bruh.
Now it's a free-for-all on the field.
You got the Democrats showing up for Trump's address to both houses of Congress looking like damn fools, having videos where they dancing. You got to be kidding me. Trump didn't even have an opportunity to pass gas, and this man standing up protesting. Protesting what? He won the election. I'm on The View, and I got a bunch of ladies talking about there's no mandate, courtesy of Joy Behar. What mandate? Kamala Harris lost all the swing states. And then these people holding up their signs. These Democrats looking like damn fools. Republicans, you have them reeling. The Democrats are reeling. They are falling backwards. It's bad.
Oh, it's so bad. The president says the whole party needs to take an IQ test.
There's something wrong with them. It's just something, I can't even believe it. I looked the other night, I made a speech. The Republicans were going wild, and the Democrats were having their little signs up, their little tiny signs. And I said, it's unbelievable. They don't get it. They don't get it now. And I think they're going to end up being a minor party if they keep going like this, because people don't want to hear about these stupid ideas that they have.
Democrats aren't just protesting Trump, they're protesting each other. Tampon Tim's running around saying Kamala played it too safe. Quote, I think we probably should have just rolled the dice and done the town halls. And now Kamala's people are bad-mouthing Timmy. This was a guy who definitely was embarrassed by his flubs, didn't handle them well, and seemed like there was a never-ending supply of them. And they said they had to tell Walz to stop calling Trump weird because it wasn't working, and everyone really knew Tim Walz was the weird one. And we finally discovered what Michelle Obama wants to do besides attend inaugurations and funerals. Podcasts. Michelle's starting a podcast with her brother.
I am Michelle.
And I am Craig.
And Craig here is my big brother.
And you all know my sister Michelle, or Mish as our family has always called her.
We are so excited for you to listen to our brand new podcast. Whether you're navigating the gray areas of marriage and raising kids, or dealing with a little friend drama, or even figuring out how to put yourself out there in the dating world.
And look, we're not saying we have all the answers either.
But we do have plenty of opinions.
Now, if you're Barack, you're not happy. The media is reporting Michelle's going to open up about divorce. Newsom dropped a podcast. Now Michelle, maybe she's running for president. Or maybe she needs the money. Or maybe her brother needs the money. And this is her way of helping him out. If you want to talk to your brother, you could just call him on the phone. Why do you make it a podcast? Is she trying to show up Barack? Does she want to take on Rogan? She did all these books, the Netflix shows, the fruit juice, now podcasting? Maybe somebody will actually listen to her, because no one's listening to Hakeem. He's been trying to act tough like Nancy, but his message isn't hitting.
We have the Republicans on the run. They are on the run. We have them on the run, and we have them on the run. So we have them on the run. And we're going to keep our foot on the gas pedal.
Rank and file Democrats are blaming Hakeem for his soggy strategies, and they're about to get soggier. The new game plan for Democrats, more F-bombs.
It's total bullshit. Absolute bullshit. We have to Trump.
I say Trump.
Somebody slap me and wake me the up, because I'm ready to get on with it.
A well-timed F-bomb. That can really work out when you mean it. But when they're all dropping F-bombs out of the blue at the same time, they've been programmed by pollsters. But some people in the media like what they're hearing.
What I will say about Jasmine, that's how I want to hear Democrats talk.
God right.
Like, I love that. Like, low-key, that is
right.
sticky. It's also relatable. Like, Democrats, you got to stop talking like these Ivy League weirdos who are careful about every single word they use. It's completely unrelatable.
You know what's so interesting? Jesse Waters last night, he labeled her the face of the Democratic Party. And I know Jesse might have been being funny, but he's right.
Jasmine, not to be confused with Davy Crockett, is taking off like a rocket. But Bernie Sanders is still the only one who can turn out a crowd. Burn Dog's been on tour. He's going from city to city. He's holding rallies against oligarchy, putting thousands in seats. But his opening act is questionable. Does your God have a what? That's trans anarchist punk singer Laura Jane Grace. Remember the media made a stink about a comedian cracking a Puerto Rican joke before opening up for Trump at MSG? How is Bernie's opener not so much worse than that? Democrats said choose your fighter, and they picked a trans anarchist punk singer. Democrats seem happy watching their party get hijacked by activists. At New York City school board meeting the other day, trans activists stormed it and then did the Macarena.
At the last meeting, you had Charles Love here, and he was trying to call out Gavin over there at the end of the table for his racism. So we don't want, I'm speaking up for the female athletes who do not want to have biological males competing with them.
Democrats have decided to die on the transgender hill. They decided to pick a battle with the whole country in a democracy. Rahm Emanuel calls it a political crisis. Quote, some kids in the classroom are debating which pronouns apply, and the rest of the class doesn't know what a pronoun is. That's a crisis. Newsom told Charlie Kirk it's unfair when boys play girls' sports, and now Democrats are at his throat. This is going to be a problem for Democrats because you're not allowed to disagree. If you disagree with what Democrats stand for, they kick you out of the party. Look at Musk, Rogan, Tulsi, RFK. Are there even any pro-life Democrats in Washington left? I don't think so. If Democrats are going to debate the trans issue, they're going to have to think. That party's not designed to think. They're all about control. And once you let people think for themselves, you lose control. And then the machine loses power. And why would people put Democrats back in power? When they had it, they couldn't even build a reservoir or control the border, or build an electric car charger, or lock up criminals. But at least they can demolish a treehouse.
We are out here today because the treehouse that I built with a carpenter friend 24 years ago is coming down. The city has started a criminal trial on it, and that trial is on Wednesday, and the city is going to make me pay for court costs, and it's just kind of being a bully. It was a nice hangout, and we always let people go in it. It was free, family friendly. I just wanted everybody to get together.
This poor guy builds this amazing treehouse for his neighborhood, brings everybody together, gets kids to go outside and instead of staying in on their phones. And the government, with this great amount of power, can do anything with it. All the problems they have going on in this country decide to doge a treehouse. Democrats are flying to African cocktail parties when fires are about to break out. They lost $20 billion on a homeless scan, but they attack a treehouse like it's a terrorist training camp. Being anti-treehouse perfectly symbolizes what the party's become. Dumb and no fun. Democrats in New York shut down a kid's lemonade stand because he didn't have a permit. You can't drink lemonade that a little boy made you, but you better take this vaccine we just dropped, and if you don't, you're fired. They want to shut down treehouses and lemonade stands, but they want to keep open a $70,000 DEI opera in Ireland. I know what we have to do to keep these treehouses and lemonade stands open. Tell them it's a trans treehouse and an effing lemonade stand.
To some very disturbing news. If you watch this program, you know how pathetic and unhinged the Democratic Party has become. But now some on the left are actually turning to outright violence. Others are now openly advocating to assassinate Elon Musk, who has become a lightning rod to these radicals, and really for two simple reasons. One, he's working with and he's supported President Trump. Number two, he has been exposing and rooting out waste, fraud, abuse, and I would argue when we get to the bottom of it, a lot of corruption within our federal government and what the D.C. swamp has been doing with your hard-earned money. Now, because of these reasons, Democrats, they no longer care that he's going to rescue, and I pray that this goes well, astronauts, lost in space and kind of abandoned from the International Space Station, or helping those that were in need after Hurricane Helene with Starlink terminals that he donated after the wildfires in California. Again, he stepped up, he donated again. And they don't seem to care that he's working to restore vision to the blind and movement to those who are paralyzed and with spinal cord injuries with something called Neuralink, nor do they seem to care. The environmentally obsessive left Democrats, they don't even care that Elon Musk created by far the most successful electric vehicle company in the entire world. In fact, threats and acts of terror against Tesla are now becoming common, and it's getting scary. In Colorado, one Tesla dealership has been attacked multiple times since January. At least one individual is now accused of trying to set the dealership on fire, hurling Molotov cocktails at cars, spray painting the word Nazi on the building. And this past Friday, there was yet another attempt to burn the dealership to the ground. Meanwhile, in the state of Oregon, someone opened fire on a Tesla dealership there, firing at least 7 rounds, damaging cars, breaking windows. And take a look at your screen. Just yesterday in Seattle, 4 Cybertrucks, you can see it right there, were torched near Boston, more than 6 Tesla charging stations. They were set ablaze by the lunatic left. And there have been reported acts of vandalism and violence against Tesla now all over the country. And sadly, hate to ever report this about anybody. I don't really care what your politics are. Now Elon Musk himself is facing constant real death threats, including one woman on TikTok openly calling for his assassination while bragging she's not paid taxes in 7 years. Other lunatics openly hold signs at protests calling for Elon's murder. Just today, X was temporarily shut down because of a major cyber attack. According to Musk himself, quote, there was, still is, a massive cyber attack against X. We get attacked every day, but this was done with a whole lot of resources, either a large coordinated group and or a country is involved. Now, contrary to the incredibly dumb talking points from Democrats, Elon Musk is leading Doge, and he's losing money in the process. He's not doing this to make money. He's losing it. And you could see now, all these attacks have led to the demonization of him, and it's hurting his business. His important work for the Trump administration is bad for business, and Tesla stock is down. His companies and products are under constant attack, all because he is daring to expose waste, fraud, abuse, and auditing the federal government. And by the way, you know what? I hate what they're doing to this guy. I'm going to go out. A friend of mine has a Tesla. I've driven it. I loved it. It's a great car. And I just frankly want to support someone who's given up an awful lot to help our president, help our country, save us a ton of money, and get us on the right track. And by the way, according to Kelley Blue Book and others, Tesla is the single most American-made car in the world. In other words, more American part, over 80% of the car is American-made. Those are American jobs. All these lefties attacking the Tesla, they're going to lose high-paying career jobs for people. And as I said last week, the Democratic Party is completely soulless in spite of Hakeem Jeffries. We've got him on the run. We'll get to that later in the program. Now, we witnessed this last week when Democrats, they wouldn't stand for mothers that lost their children, or a 12-year-old young man that survived cancer, or the wife of a law enforcement officer that was killed, or a young man that lost his father and is now going to West Point. They couldn't bother to stand and clap for any of them. And whether or not you like Elon Musk, he's right about, simple truths and a simple fact. The United States, our country, is spending itself into oblivion. We will not survive as a country if we keep spending like this. We keep robbing from our children and grandchildren. And this is your money. And the average American makes $66,000 a year, and they're spending and wasting hundreds of billions of your dollars. Keep in mind, the federal pre-COVID budget was $4.5 trillion. It is now over $6 trillion after Biden's wild 4-year spending spree. Now, think about that. The pandemic's long been over. Spending levels never went down under Joe and Kamala. Now, that brings us to a Hannity investigation into what Joe and Kamala were doing with your money. Let's start with Stacey Abrams. She apparently was granted a $2 billion contract to buy energy-efficient appliances for low-income Americans. Take a look.
I led a program called Vitalizing DeSoto. We worked in a tiny town in South Georgia to demonstrate that by replacing energy inefficient appliances with efficient appliances, you can lower your cost. And based on that program, a coalition of organizations, famous organizations, came together and said to the EPA, if we can do this here, we can do this for millions more Americans. Let us invest the money of America in lowering the cost for Americans. And the EPA said, okay, great, go for it.
Now, sadly, that is only the tip of the iceberg. For example, Biden's $1 trillion American Rescue Plan spent almost no money on COVID recovery, instead cheated, and created this giant slush fund for state and local governments, including billions for California and New York and other deep blue states. Billions went to housing illegal immigrants that they allowed unvetted into the country. New libraries, $2 billion was sent to non-existent country level governments. $400 million went to renovate state parks and trails in Michigan. Joe spent a whopping $15 million on a sports complex in New Jersey. Nearly $1 million to build luxury apartments in Connecticut. $738 million went out to cover 500,000 convicted prisoners, including the Boston Marathon bomber. And get this, there were even $1,400 stimulus checks sent to Japanese citizens that were living in Japan. And that's not all. According to a study for the Center for Renewing America, more than $1.1 trillion was directed to programs infused with diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives, on top of all the USAID money that went to DEI and the Green New Deal and transgenderism and wokeism. I mean, this is madness. We could spend all night talking about trillions of wasted taxpayer dollars, your money that Joe and Kamala burned through in the worst imaginable ways, causing inflation, high taxes, economic suffering, and yet Democrats are violently angry with Elon Musk for trying to identify this waste and abuse to save our country from what would be economic doom down the line. They're, of course, insane. And by the way, they're not just angry at Musk. Anyone connected with Donald Trump faces an angry, left-wing, radicalized mob. And, of course, this includes the vice president and even his young family. Take a look at this.
Ma'am, look at my 3-year-old daughter now. And I told you, I talked to you for 5 minutes. And now, I did not agree to have my 3-year-old to have people run around and yell at her. And I did talk to you, and I had said, if I talk to you for a few minutes, will you leave my 3-year-old daughter alone? And you said yes. So I'd like you guys to respect that. Okay. Thank you.
Now, the vice president responded on X. He wrote, quote, "Today, while walking my 3-year-old daughter, a group of protesters followed us around and shouted. As my daughter grew increasingly anxious and scared, I decided to speak with the protesters in the hopes that I could trade a few minutes of conversation for them leaving my toddler alone. Nearly all of them agreed. It was mostly a respectful conversation. But if you're chasing a 3-year-old kid as part of a political protest, you know, you're messed up." Vance is absolutely right. But sadly, Democrats, they continue to spiral. But according to Hakeem Jeffries, Republicans are on the run.
You're only clapping, so I'll validate your parking. Good evening, everyone. So over the weekend, the Secret Service shot a man in a confrontation near the White House. In the man's defense, he honestly thought he still lived there. Clapping the shooting of a president? A Southwest Airlines flight had to return to the gate after a female passenger stripped naked and raced up and down the aisle. No, I was just waiting for a picture. No pictures? In a related story, guess who just booked a flight on Southwest? You don't have pictures? True, the naked woman ran around on the flight for 25 minutes. It confused many of the passengers, who ended up seeing 2 landing strips that day. Meanwhile, an Air India flight was forced to return to the U.S. because of clogged toilets. "Sorry about that," said one passenger. Amazing. Over the weekend, a 4.1 magnitude earthquake shook Los Angeles. The tremors were so strong, LA Mayor Karen Bass felt them in Africa. The aftershocks were so intense, Gavin Newsom's hair actually moved. In fact, one was so strong, it actually flipped Gavin back to his original position on trans athletes. You weren't feeling it? It's okay, you weren't feeling it. There were fractures, there were cracks, there were breaks, and that was just in Cher's face. I agree with you. Over the weekend, a guy broke the world record for standing in the same spot for 38 hours straight, breaking the previous record of everyone who has been to the DMV. But 38 hours without moving? That's amateur hour, said one man. Futurists predict tech-obsessed humans could have hunchbacks and smaller brains by the year 2100. I think we found patient zero for this study. And finally, Dylan Mulvaney was a guest on The View today. Dylan enjoyed being on the show, even though Mulvaney was the only one there without a penis. So, tonight's topic, friends. We all know what friends are. We have them ourselves. Well, maybe not all of us.
I knew that was coming.
But we can talk to our friends honestly, and we can give our friends sound advice. Like the time I told MC Hammer, don't worry about money, you'll be popular forever. But also a good friend would tell you not to sing in public.
Which side are you on? Trump's coming for our unions. He wants us all to fail. He wants us to bow to him, but we want him in jail. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Science lights the way.
No, it doesn't. You know, if they told us they'd stop singing if we impeached Trump, we might do it. But who would let you go out in public and sound so awful? Besides Maroon 5's tour manager. Not true friends, that's for sure. But sadly, there's a group of people who don't understand the concept of friendship, and it's the modern Democrat. Here's Joy Behar talking about refusing to share a kidney.
I find it friends bizarre. With a Trump supporter. I won't give them a kidney, but I could be friends with them.
Hey, Joy, it's a kidney, not a pizza. Of course, she's kidding at first, but then she goes on to explain the moral foundation for her resentment, and it's the same one that drives all deadly ideologies.
The thing about it is it's not just about politics. It's about morality, ethics. It's about cruelty. It's about discrimination. It's about a lot of things. So those are personal human values. We're not really just talking about fiscal conservative who pays more taxes. We're talking about you as a human being. So it's hard to be friends with someone who signs on to something like that.
See what she did there? She removed the inhumanity of her adversary, placing them in a box labeled not wrong, but evil. So now you can treat them the way you fantasize that they might treat you. If you think they're Nazis, then you can act like Nazis. But once they lose elections, they decide, well, these bad people can do podcasts really well. That must have mattered, so let's do podcasts. But it's like Jesse Waters thinking he can play like Michael Jordan by shaving off the rest of his remaining hair. It's not gonna work. But once they get shellacked by so-called bad people, their solution is to do what the bad people do. Well, good luck, because they don't understand the organic nature of podcasting. Podcasts were built on this concept called friends, with friends doing other friends' show without fear of being canceled. But since everything Dems do is inorganic, from the protests to their stupid TikTok videos, they assume they can just artificially make a podcast the same way. It's like watching the Super Bowl and thinking, yeah, I could do that too, neglecting the years of experience and raw talent that leads to that moment. But they can't do podcasts for they have no friends, meaning people who will be honest with them. It's why Dems do embarrassing in public, and how no one will tell Debbie Wasserman Schultz her hairstyle looks like someone dumped a casserole on her head. But if the podcast world is based on people who trust each other, how do Democrats find those people? How can you make friends if everybody around you is terrified that one slip-up might land them in exile? That's how you get people to say Rachel Levine is female and Chris Hayes is a man. That will never happen here because we like you enough to call bull. But if Dems were to actually call BS, their so-called allies would turn on them, like Brit Hume does when you bring up his brief stint in Menudo. Look what happened with Joe Rogan. Where did all his lefty friends go? And countless other former libs who found freedom in the world outside wokedom. They realize that you can't work with someone who, when the going gets rough, abandons you. That's called an informant. With friends like that, who needs Mike Pence? It comes down to the 3 words of advice I've given to the very start of this crazy business: share the risk. What you saw on the right, especially in podcasts and comedy, was the sharing of risk among friends. And that's appealing, and most of all, it's real. The Dems spent so much time cultivating fake compassion through identity politics and DEI that they abandoned the real thing, which means after every manufactured march, the leftist went home alone, too miserable and wretched to feed their 27 cats. Because the recipe for their power, which is the power to cancel, burns every real human bridge in their lives. It's how ideologies play out. For that system to expand, you have to reduce your humanity to a point where you can explain why letting a friend die without a kidney is your moral choice. But really, who wants one of Joy's kidneys anyway? Seriously, I'm sure the kidney wants to get out of there. Let's welcome! He's the inspiration for the mute button. Host of One Nation and co-host of Fox and Friends, Brian Kilmeade. It's the first time on the set, which I'm sure she'll regret. Fox business correspondent Madison Allworth. Women give him their room keys so he can clean their bathrooms. It's comedian Joe Mackey. And she used to be a VJ, and I don't mean an Indian fella. Host of the Kennedy Saves the World podcast, Hannity. Brian?
Yes.
You actually host a show called Fox and Friends.
Right. That's why I thought I was perfect for today's talking.
Yes. It's kind of interesting and ironic that you are on Fox, but you never have friends on.
Right. It's true.
But do they, like, but you understand what I'm saying? It's like friends are the people that tell you the harsh truths.
Absolutely.
And you can't tell harsh truths in a liberal world because you'll get canceled.
So I was thinking a lot about this. And then when I went to college, around the same age as you, no one really knew politics. I mean,
Yes.
maybe Berkeley's different from Long Island University. You could never get in there.
Mine's a real school.
Yeah, that's right. If you call Berkeley a real school, I'm sure that's not on your resume.
Long Island University?
You couldn't have gotten in.
Is that a fake school?
Right.
That sounds like a sitcom college. I'm off to Long Island University, Mom. Sorry. Okay, it's real. I apologize. Some online correspondence thing.
It's the Teddy Roosevelt School of Journalism. They have so many great schools. They have a veterinarian school. They got a great soccer team. I can go on.
Do they have sports?
Yeah, that's it. Right. We never talked about it. I still don't know until I meet my college friends now. I know who they vote for.
Yeah.
But in college, we never talked about it. It was like a minor thing. But today, it really defines who you are. I have 3 kids college age. They all know who they voted for and where they stand. So things are really different. So I thought, I'm going to be above it all. I saw the theme of your monologue, and I thought to myself, I'm going to be someone who doesn't judge somebody by who they vote for. Then I thought about it. I'm hanging out, and I meet somebody, and they say, hey, yeah, great to see you. You want to go for a movie later? First, just let me make a little note. Ilhan Omar, a genius who really loves America. Sorry, I'm busy. How about Adam Schiff? I find him trustworthy, somebody I can really rely on, and who always tells the truth. I'm not going to the movie. So you really can't get past it. And I challenge you. If you were hanging out with somebody and they let them know that Adam Schiff and Ilhan Omar was your guiding light, you would not continue that relationship. I challenge you.
Yes, thank God I'm a hermit. I don't really go out and do anything.
Right. No one really asks.
Yeah, that is
honest.
true.
Yeah, you check your cell phone constantly.
I have a rare body odor issue.
Right.
That can't be cured. Madison, first time on the show. How excited are you?
So excited. Thank you.
You are on kind of the news side, so you have to be, do you find that you have to be careful? Like you're always in danger of somebody calling you and going, Madison, you're not supposed to say that.
No, I mean, the good thing is it's my job to not have an opinion, which we'll see if I get to keep my job after the show. But so I get to just really play the middle and talk to people. And if I do say something, the call is not, you shouldn't say that. It's why the heck did you say that?
Right.
But to the point when I was, again, researching, just like Brian, working very hard ahead of the show, I actually disagree. I think Joy does have friends that are Trump voters because there's a majority of them in the U.S. She just doesn't know it because they would never tell her. And this is part of the problem. If you can't have the conversations, and then obviously, is that a real friend if they can't tell the truth? But yeah, if you go on national television and say, I can't be friends with a Trump voter, like you're either not going to text her back or you just keep your mouth shut.
That is one of the, it's preference falsification, where people do not tell you what they, that's why people thought Trump would lose, because a lot of people wouldn't say they were voting for him. So look who's here in this little chair. Yeah. It's Mark Cuban's retarded brother.
I'm sorry, Greg. I didn't dress like Vladimir Zelensky for a TV show.
I love you, Joe.
I would hang out with you if you would just give me your phone number.
What did you say?
I would hang out with you if you would give me your phone number.
Well, you know, it's not listed. Do people still say that?
No,
it's not
only
listed.
on your show.
What did you make of the idea? Do you have you lost friends, Joe?
Yes, I have lost friends over politics, but I think it's a good thing. Because what kind of friend doesn't think I can have my own views, you know? Yeah. That's the best reason to lose a friend, Greg. The worst reason to lose a friend? Alligators. Every time I've lost a friend to an alligator, it's always the same old thing. They're like, help, Joe, I'm being eaten by an alligator. And I'm like, I don't think we should be friends anymore. But I'll say this, it seemed to me like Joy was trying to really have it both ways. It's like saying, hey, I will be friends with you. I will be your friend, but I would also let you die.
That is the true definition of having it both ways.
It's like that or like capri pants.
Yes. I never wore capri pants.
I have dozens of pairs.
Each one from a different victim. You know serial killers all collect one thing. Capri pants, Kennedy.
That's because they're called shorts, but when you put them on, they go down to your ankles.
All right, let's go to break. Kennedy, can you imagine, I could not imagine you navigating these circles,
God.
where you have, well, you probably have.
No, I have, because I grew up in Oregon. You know, it's like you grew up in Northern California. It was all hippies in Oregon. My parents were Democrats. And I became a Republican in high school because that was the only way to rebel. And I think that's what a lot of kids, it's true.
No gangs?
I realized, in Lake Oswego, Oregon. Yeah.
Not good ones.
We had 3 African-American Lake Ridge Pacers. Yes. And they were all the children of trailblazers.
I did not know
that.
So, yeah. I apologize.
So very, very diverse, tough school. It's a miracle that I made it out alive. No, it was very affluent and quite lovely, but thank you for asking. No, but I've always run in these circles, and I auditioned for The View in 2003 and went pretty far through the process and got along great because Starr was there. Barbara Walters is still alive. God rest her soul. She was lovely. Meredith Vieira was still there. We talked about conservative politics. Joy was a talking hemorrhoid in an auburn wig. She was so ungracious and awful, and she had a comedy writer writing her little lines during the breaks, and I was like, she's not even funny. She's not reacting to anything. She's not thinking in the moment. And then I made some jokes because it's a conversational show before it became an unwatchable abortion. Because usually they're so much fun to watch.
Yes, they really are.
And she said to me during the break, I'll handle the comedy here.
No
And
way.
I said, great, whenever you start, I'll ease up on the joke.
You can't judge a book by its cover, and that is one ugly cover.
It's a leathery cover, Greg.
It's a leathery, beat-up cover. All right. That was a great little story.
I loved it.
We all learned something about Kennedy tonight. Okay, before we go, I've got more awesome live shows coming up with special guest Tom Shiloh. This weekend, Indiana and Pennsylvania. Go to gutfeld.com for tickets. And up next, Wacko's Target Tesla.